Hi, welcome to another exciting session of Homeschool 101 with Homeschoolific, Section 6, How to Choose Your Curriculum. Let's recap. So you know your why, you know your homeschooling, you know your goals. This step will allow you to work backwards so that you can choose the best curriculum. You know the laws in your state. You should have a list of what you're required to teach along with anything you would like to add. Not that you need to add anything, just if you want to. You're comfortable with the learning styles. Knowing your child learning styles is a key component to making sure you make good choices. You have made or you're in the process of making an academic plan. Although you can make almost any curriculum work, kind of fit your need, some have stronger points than others. Now you are ready to pick your teaching style and your curriculum. This is the fun part. Picking it is just fun, but there are a lot of choices. So in the next few slides, I hope we've done a good job of narrowing it down for you. Let's get started. So let's go over some very important questions you should ask yourself. By answering these questions, it's going to help you to decide on your teaching style and your curriculum. You may find that life situations cause you to have to go to a certain style of homeschooling. I know I had to be in that place. This is going to be a school year that I'm going to be able to school the way I like to, but in the last 2 homeschool years, due to life situations, I've had to alternate. And that is okay. There is no judgment there. It is fine. You do what your life needs for that time. So one of the first questions you want to ask is, how much time do I need to dedicate to homeschooling, or can I dedicate? How much time can I do in a day or a week? And let's just say some days you can dedicate more than others. That's why I put down per week. If you need to work around that, that's possible, and that's okay. Do I prefer to be very involved in homeschooling, or would I prefer to support a teacher while doing it at home? How much technology am I okay with? Is there one of my children that need me to spend more time with them? And that could be due to a learning disability or behavioral problems, or if they're delayed. They also may be a special needs child. They'll need more of your time. Would I prefer an all-in-one kit, or would I like to piece something together myself? And for the most part, you can do either one. An all-in-one kit allows you to purchase everything you need at one place for one price, and it's all sent to you. Occasionally, you'll find companies are able to do all but math. Often, if it's going to miss anything, it's going to miss math. And then you buy your math separately. When you piece things together, this will be with certain learning styles, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. And you can probably do this with most of your schooling styles. But if you piece it together, you'll find that often it can be more cost effective, or you can do it so it can be more personalized, whichever you prefer. Another big question to tackle is budget. What is your budget? Now, a budget is going to be a big part of your homeschooling decision, but I will also say don't forget that in public school and private school, you have a big budget there as well. I know when my kids were in public school, even in private school, that has its own costs. But in public school, I came out the door before they even step in the classroom, $300 just for toiletry things. Then I also had to buy clothes and pay for lunches and things like that in the school year. So when you hear budget, don't freak out, but you need a budget, okay? So you'll find that a lot of homeschool companies do have payment plans, but sometimes, especially in times like this, you might find that the budget is a problem, and that's okay. You can exchange time for money. That basically saying that you're going to take free options, but you're going to have to gather those free options. You'll have to take more trips to the library, you'll have to do more printing, you'll have to gather things together. You won't be able to pay someone to bring it all together for you. It's still doable. Now let's say you can't do time and money. They're both an issue for you. That is still okay. That is still doable. You can find used curriculum on places like eBay and like Yahoo sites and stuff like that. And then keep in mind that your school district probably offers a free distance education program that you can take advantage of for free. So that's an option. And then some states also pay homeschoolers to homeschool. There's stipulations wrapped around that you'll want to know about. We talked about that a little bit in the laws course, but that is something that you can look into as well. Okay, we've arrived. We're going to do a brief overview over teaching styles. And I'm going to go through this as fast as I can, but I want you to get a lot of information. There's a lot of information here. So please note a couple things. Although there are many different types of schooling, of homeschooling and schooling, because some of these techniques are used in private schools and public schools alike. This list that I have put together for you is just going to be an overview of the majority. You may find other ones out there, and there's always new ones popping up as well. But this list should give you a feel of the major ones that are out there. In addition, none of these curriculums are affiliates of ours by any means. On the contrary, we're just looking to find things that may serve you best. That is it. And then, so as a note, when I say frugal, I want you to know that that means almost free to around $150 a child. When I say affordable, that could be about $800 a child, up to $800 a child, not at 800, but around. And then, and it could be less, it could be $300. And when I say premium, I mean beyond $800, and that's per child. So now that we have that foundation set, let's look into these teaching styles. So these are teaching styles. From your teaching style, you'll pick a curriculum. Now the Charlotte Mason is literature based. You're going to spend around 3 to 4 hours your personal time with that child for the curriculum. It is a frugal curriculum because you can do it all yourself, but I should point out that anything can be frugal and can be premium. That just depends on you, the parent. It depends on what you want to put into it. It depends on how much you have to put in it. I've seen people do Charlotte Mason for as cheap as $10 to $20 a child, you know, with ink and all that stuff. And then I've seen people spend $1,500 on the Charlotte Mason education. It just really depends. And it can be even more than that because this is a great program to travel with. So it just depends. So I just wanted to point that out as well. I won't explain that for every one of them, but just know that frugal means you can do this very frugally, but it doesn't mean that it will always be frugal. You can always go higher if you'd like. Okay. So the Charlotte Mason program is based on the knowledge through nature and living books. It's a gentle approach and it works well with families that like the outdoors and books. Classical is a reading writing program, or should I say method. You're probably going to put in about 5 hours of your time. The student will probably put in around 6 hours as they get into high school. Now, of course, younger, that will not be the case. It can be frugal. If you do, it can go up as well. This method has 3 stages that are taught accordingly to the stage of the brain where the brain is at naturally. This is a reading writing focus and it's good for families that love to read. Eclectic. This is probably one of the most popular homeschool methods of homeschoolers that have homeschooled more than 1 year. It is personalized. And the time varies because it is personalized and it depends on what you pick. So Eclectic method takes the concepts and ideas and from different homeschooling methods and forms it into a personalized style of education. It works really well for most, except for the unorganized. I probably would not pick it as a first-year person just because you haven't had any experience. But I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. In my experiences, I feel like Eclectic would be a little challenging for me. It can be very frugal. Montessori. This is hands-on, child-led, and the time is spent varies. because of the way it's done. It can be affordable. This method of education is based on self-direct activity, hands-on learning, and collaborative play. This method works well with young learners. Road world schooling. Experience-based and time varies. Premium in its pricing. This is an undertaking that recognizes that students can receive the best education by experiencing and interacting with the world around them. Works well for traveling families. It's also the one I'm probably the most jealous of. I love the idea of traveling and being able to see all the sites of history and be in nature and to learn things about nature and going to go see it. I think that's a beautiful concept, but it is a premium price tag. School at home, traditional or computer, and this will take anywhere as little as 1 to 6 hours of your time. And that's going to be 1 hour of your time if you're going to do something that's like a virtual school where, or an online school where you're an aide, but it can take up to 6 hours if you are the teacher. So that's why you see such a vast difference in the hours. This is usually a full-on curriculum, often purchased from a company that caters to homeschoolers, usually through a private school or a public school, can be privately bought, and it works well for most. Unless your student has a hard time staying seated for a long time, that might be where you might see some problems. And even with that, you can work around that. It just may take longer in the day. Unit studies. These are theme-based and usually take somewhere around 2 to 5 hours. Again, if your child is very young, that may not be the case. If your child is very old, that also may not be the case. But on average, 2 to 5 hours. It's frugal to affordable, depending on if you purchase it, piece it together yourself, or if you purchase a all-in-one kit. So a unit study incorporates multiple subjects using one theme. The theme can be in any subject, and it is learning through different resources with hands-on activities, and it really works well for most. And you will find that it's used in a lot of different places, including private and public schools. Unschooling. This is child-led and time varies. It's frugal to premium. Unschooling learning through daily practices, parents aid interests by inconspicuously facilitating learning through life. It works well for the naturally inquisitive minds. Also for parents that are very okay with making sure that their whole world is around education. There's also something called radical schooling. So if this style of schooling looks interesting to you, I would also look into that as well. Waldorf. This is a main lesson approach. It's anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, and that is depending on the ages. So you'll find that younger kids will be around 2.5 to 3 hours, and the older kids will go up to 6 hours. And if high school students have more subjects, then they'll go longer than 6 hours. Waldorf method stresses hands-on creative play, and it uses monthly learning themes called main lessons. It discourages technology and would do best in a low-tech home. All right, it's time to look at curriculums or books. Some curriculums just will not have a curriculum because of the style. So I'm going to show you books that will help guide you in those. Again, I have no affiliation with these. These are just off of research or off of my personal experience. These are some of the resources I've used. So I am presenting them to you as such. Please just use this as a guide and look for the ones that you like that are in this in the teaching style that you like. So if you're looking for a classical schooling, like I said, you're going to spend, it can be frugal, it can actually go to premium. Classical Conversations curriculum is a premium curriculum. Charlotte Mason Ambleside Online is frugal. So if you want a Charlotte Mason type, you can do Ambleside Online, and they offer the whole thing for free. It's a nonprofit. While a lot of people who use the Montessori or the Waldorf programs either get the program from the original makers as I won't say program as a guideline, there are curriculums that you can purchase. So you can go to these sites, and if you're looking at the Montessori or the Waldorf, you can do either one of those. And those are options. These are also secular options. I do also believe that Classical Conversation has a secular option as well. As I stated before, many of us fall into eclectic homeschooling at some time or another. I know myself, I have had years where I've been extremely eclectic, and then some years where I'm either not at all or very little. My upcoming school year will be more on the smaller side of eclectic for me this time around. But it just depends on what our family needs, is what we decide on. So as I said, this is common for homeschoolers to go eclectic. However, I would strongly suggest that you would have a plan book, because it is very easy to become unorganized on an eclectic journey. So make sure that you plan well and that you don't miss anything should you decide to do that. Also, go ahead and write some blogs on eclectic homeschooling. You just really, what you want to do is you're just trying to see what other people have done, and then shop around and see what works best for your child. This is why I feel that being a second year or later homeschooler is more beneficial for eclectic. I think I would have struggled quite a bit for a first year for eclectic. World schooling. This is one option that you can use for world schooling, but you can do almost anything with world schooling. I would probably caution against anything with a lot of pieces. But My Father's World is a great curriculum for traveling. To be honest, it was the one I wanted, but I live in the desert and we don't travel enough. So not that you probably couldn't do it here, but I wanted to be able to travel. And it's a beautiful curriculum, but it's not the only one you can use for world schooling. It's just one that I've liked for years. Unit study. This is also a very popular one amongst homeschoolers and private and public schools. As I told you about that before. This program here is Sunlight. Now you can use anything. You can also print it yourself. Sunlight would be under affordable, and they also offer payment plans. But this is one of a few unit study programs. Unschooling. As I stated before, some of these will not have curriculum because of the style of schooling. The idea of having a curriculum in unschooling would be opposite of unschooling. It would be schooling. So you would want a book or the unschooling manual, as I have listed here. Nandia is just one of several writers of this book, but this would be a great place to start. Not the only place, but a great place to start. The school at home method is very popular amongst parents that either work, don't have a lot of time, or maybe have special needs children that they need to address. And so you'll find that often they'll use the school at home method or online virtual method. Parents that like to school at home, they might enjoy being the teacher, maybe even have a teaching background and feel very comfortable in that style of teaching. A company like Bookshark would be a great company to go along with. But if you like something online or virtual where the teacher is on the screen or maybe even doing live lessons and your student can follow along with them while you aid the teacher on to that, you can find a lot of different online programs that does that. Abeka is one, but there's also Bob Jones. Not to mention you have several that are going through your school district that you can use as well. It's also very popular nowadays amongst private schools to open such a program as this as well. So remember, have your list of subjects, know your budget, pick a style that works for you and your child, and then go get your curriculum or print it out or your book, whatever you're going to get, go ahead and get it. I thank you for sticking it out with me. Section 7 will cover create a schedule, and this will be great. Thank you so much for hanging with us here at Homeschoolific. We do it, you can too.